God's specific providence. The message on Abraham's faith found me in a season of calculations. I was weighing options, mapping futures, my heart anxious over paths not taken and doors that seemed closed. My own faith felt small, a flickering candle next to the bonfire of the patriarchs I read about in Scripture. I had relegated such faith to a high pitch of perfection, a thing for spiritual giants, not for me. Then I read of Abraham's 3 trials, leaving home against all show of happiness, believing for a son against all show of nature, and offering that son against all show of reason. What struck me was the phrase, his faith was not altered or lessened by any human appearances. My faith, I saw, was entirely altered by them. A disappointing circumstance was a verdict from God. A closed door was his rejection. I was a slave to appearances. The author's next point was the lance that pierced my guard. This resignation wasn't for spiritual elites. It was the fruit of a plain and ordinary faith. My lack of trust wasn't a lack of advanced spirituality, but a deficiency in the most basic doctrine, the goodness of God. I believed it as a concept, but I did not possess it as a plain assurance that could weather any storm. I saw that my anxiety was, at its root, a theological problem. I did not truly believe God was good, and therefore I could not resign myself to his will. But the grace came with a final section, the particularity of God's providence. The words were a balm and a revelation. Every man is to consider himself as a particular object of God's providence, as if the world had been made for him alone. This was not abstraction. My birth, my specific time, my parents, my place, my condition, was not a cosmic accident. It was God's express designment. The argument was unassailable. If God numbers the hairs on my head and notes the fall of a sparrow, then the greatest things, my very existence and its circumstances, are by his eternal purposes, direction, and appointment. In that moment, I received it by faith. It was a choice to believe. The grace was the ability to make that choice. I laid down my calculations. I closed my eyes to the human appearances of my life, the delays, the uncertainties, the deadness of certain hopes. And I chose to see instead the invisible reality, that I am a particular object of the care of a good God. My story is not a random series of events. It is a narrative written by an author who is both sovereign and kind. My prayer is no longer for a changed circumstance, but for a strengthened faith to see his hand in the present one. I am learning the resignation of Abraham, a thankful trust not for what God gives, but simply because it is he who gives it. By faith, I am beginning to believe that the same God who guided Abraham's every step is guiding mine, and that is enough.